All right, everybody, I want to welcome you to this episode of the Aging Wealthily podcast. Today, we're talking about the most expensive thing you owned, and it isn't what you think. And guess what? Nobody warned you either. Before we go any further, I need to take about 30 seconds. It's Women's Month. We're wrapping it up. We're at the end of Women's Month. And in this house, we don't let that pass without saying something. The women in my life, my mother, my wife, my daughters, my sisters, they are the reason that this show exists. They showed me what it means to age with purpose, to refuse to be invisible, to keep going. Not because it's easy, but because the people you love deserve your best. And at the end of this episode, I'm going to stop and honor them properly. That part alone is worth staying for. But right now, let's start where every real conversation starts, with a question. I want to ask you one thing. I want you to think about everything you protected. Your locked car, you insure your home, you check the deadbolt before you go to sleep, you put a password on your phone, a PIN on your bank card, a lock on your gate. We are very good at protecting things, but here's something that I've noticed in 20 years of watching families navigate the most expensive chapter of their lives. The thing people protect the least is the most valuable thing that they own. And it's not their house. It's not their retirement account. And no, it's not their car. It's their brain. The thing that manages all of it, the thing that makes every other asset worth having, the thing that, when it goes, takes everything else with it. I want to tell you about a man I met. He had done everything right, saved for 30 years, built a retirement most people would have envied. He had a plan, and then his wife got sick. Not all at once, slowly. You know, the way things always happen. She started forgetting small things, then big things, then him. And he sat across from me and he said something I have never once forgotten. He said to me, Sean, I planned for everything. I just didn't plan for this. $405,000 gone in 3 years. 3 years. His retirement, his savings, the life they had built together, gone. All of it. And the most painful part of that story, it wasn't the money. It was that nobody had ever told him that nearly half of what happened to her might have been preventable. Half. Nobody told him. That's why we're here today. Today, we are going to change that.
And if you have ever watched someone you love lose themselves slowly, quietly, piece by piece, this episode is for you. And if you are still sitting here right now, sharp, healthy, and thinking, this doesn't apply to me yet, this episode is especially for you. Because what you don't know about your brain health is already working against you. Let's change that together.
Here's the belief that is costing this country a fortune. Most people think brain health is a lottery. You either win or you don't. Either the disease come for you or it doesn't. Either you got the right genes or you didn't. And so people, they do nothing. They don't adjust their sleep. They don't address their loneliness. They don't have the financial conversations. They don't ask the questions. Because somewhere deep down, they believe that they believe nothing they do will change it. And I used to understand that belief. And then I read something that ended it. The 2024 Lancet Commission, the world's most respected panel of brain scientists, proved something that is remarkable. You know what that is? Up to 45% of all dementia cases could be prevented or delayed. 45%. And when I'm not talking about treated, I'm not talking about managed, I'm talking about prevented. Nearly half gone. If we only make different choices starting today. Now let me say that a different way. If you're in a room with 100 people, all on a path toward dementia, 45 of them don't have to get there. The road exists, but the destination is not inevitable. And this is not a small thing. This is a revolution in how we think about aging. This is not a medical failure happening to people who had bad luck. This is an information failure happening to people who were never told the truth. And that right there is exactly what this show is built to fix.
I want you to think about your brain like a 401k. Stay with me here. If you never deposit, you never check the balance, never paid attention to the fees quietly eating away at it from the inside, you will wake up one day and find out that everything you thought was there wasn't. Now, here's the thing about 401k that most people understand too late. The earlier you start, the less you have to put in it to get the same results. A small deposit at 40 is worth more than a large deposit at 70. Your brain works exactly the same way. The habit you build right now in your 50s and 60s are worth 10 times more than the interventions you try in your 80s. That is why midlife is not a warning sign. Midlife is your leverage point, and you are sitting in it right now.
There's a version of this episode where I introduce myself right now. I give you my credentials, I walk you through my resume, and tell you why you should trust me. But I've been in enough rooms with enough families at enough hard moments to know something. The credentials don't matter. The story does. So here's mine. My name is Sean Smith, and I did not build this show because I had a good idea one afternoon. I built it because I sat across from a man who broke my heart with 6 words. And those words were, I planned for everything. I just didn't plan for this. That man had done everything society told him to do, saved money, built a family, worked for decades. And the one thing nobody ever told him, the one thing that would have changed everything, was the same information that I'm sitting here giving you for free today. That's why the show exists. Not to build a brand, not to grow a channel, to make sure that no family ever has to say those words again. Not on our watch.
My name is Bridget Smith, and I come to this work from a different angle. I have spent years sitting with clients at some of the most hardest moments of their lives, in hospital rooms, in their living rooms that used to be full and have grown very quiet, in conversations families were never prepared to have. And I have learned something that no textbook have ever taught me. The families do their best are not the ones with the most money. They are the ones with the most information. Prepared families make better decisions. Better decisions lead to better outcomes. Better outcomes lead to dignity for the person aging, for everyone who loves them. And that's what we are here to give you. Sean brings the strategy, I bring the heart behind it. And together, we are going to give you both.
I want to tell you about a word that we created. When we went looking for the right word, a word that described what we are really trying to build, we found that that word didn't exist. So you know what we did? We made one. Aging wealthily. Wealth and health combined into one word. Because wealth and health are not 2 separate goals. I don't care what anyone's told you. They are the same goal. Think about it. A sharp mind protects your money. Financial security protects your health. Human connection protects both. Your brain starts to decline. Your finances are exposed. When your finances collapse, your health follows. When you become isolated, both accelerate. They're not a separate conversation. They were never separate conversations. We just treated them that way. Wealthy means living richer in every way that actually matters. Your brain, your body, your bank account, your relationships. This show is built around 6 pillars. And I want you to know exactly what's coming. Pillar 1, financial confidence, retirement math, Social Security, estate decisions, the conversations most people avoid until it's too late. We're going to have them together. Pillar 2, healthy aging. And I'm not talking about fads, not supplements. The actual science of staying stronger after 50. Pillar 3, brain health and connection. Our home base, cognitive protection, fighting isolation, building community that literally adds years to your life. Pillar 4, beauty and self expression, because confidence doesn't expire, and how you see yourself shapes how you show up for everything else. Pillar 5, emotional wellness, mindset reinvention, resilience, purpose, the inner work that makes all the outer work possible. And Pillar 6, lifestyle and legacy. I'm talking about second acts, purpose driven living, what you want to leave behind, and how to start building it today. 6 pillars, one word. Welcome to it. Now, here's something I want to say directly. The conversation about aging was built wrong. Somewhere along the way, the culture decided that aging was something that happens to you. Really think about that. Like the weather, like traffic, like something you just sit and wait to get through. And so people become passengers. They wait for the diagnosis. They wait for the crisis. They wait for someone else to make the plan. And by the time you stop waiting, the options that were once available to them have quietly disappeared. I've seen this pattern more times than I can count, and I've seen the opposite. I've watched people in their 50s make a single decision, not a dramatic one, not an expensive one, just the decision that aging was something that they were actively doing, not something passively happening to them. And the difference in their lives 15 years later was staggering. You're not a passenger, you're the driver. And this show hands you the wheel. This show is also for you if you are in your 30s or 40s. You're probably watching a parent navigate this and starting to realize that your turn is coming faster than you thought. You're not morbid for thinking about it. You're smart. The people who plan in their 40s are the ones who have real options in their 70s. The people who wait are the ones who sit across from someone like me and say, I planned for everything. I just didn't plan for this.
I want to speak directly to the woman in our audience because I have watched a pattern play out for years and nobody talks about it clearly enough. Women make up the majority of caregivers in this country, not because they ask to, but because they show up. The daughter who puts her own health on hold to take care of her mother, the wife who managed her husband's care while quietly ignoring her own symptoms, the woman who has been so busy holding everyone else together that she hasn't had a single real conversation about what she needs for the next 30 years. I have sat with that woman. I have been that woman, and I know this. The most generous thing you can do for the people who depends on you is protect yourself first. You cannot pour an empty cup. Women are also more likely to develop dementia, more likely to live alone in later years, more likely to outlive their financial plans. These are not small statistics. They are your life. And now this show, maybe especially this show, is for you. Here's a stat that would stop you. 1 in 4 adults over 65 are dangerously isolated. Not sad, not just lonely, dangerously isolated. According to the research, loneliness is as deadly as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. 15 cigarettes. We have national crisis in this country that doesn't show up on any lab panel. It doesn't make headlines. It shows up quietly in houses and missed calls and people who have stopped being part of anything. I want to tell you about someone I call Margaret. Margaret was 74. She had lived in the same house for 40 years, raising 3 kids in that house, buried her husband in that community. By the time she came to our attention through a Touch of Love home care, she had not had a real conversation with any human being in 11 days. Not 11 weeks, 11 days. Her kids were too busy. That meant well. They called when they could, But Margaret was alone. And what nobody has told her children, what nobody had told Margaret, is that isolation, like hers, increased the risk of dementia by 15%. It accelerates cognitive decline. It raises blood pressure. It weakens the immune system. It kills you. Slowly, quietly, in a house that used to be full. Margaret's story is not unusual. It is the rule, not the exception. And it is happening right now in a house near you, maybe your own. Now, the second thing nobody warns you about is financial. And I want to be specific because this is where I watch families make the most painful mistakes. Only 1 in 3 Americans over 50 have written financial plans for retirement. Not a vague idea, not a number in their head, a written plan. 1 in 3. 7% feel financially unprepared for the final chapter of their lives. I have sat with those families. I watch a couple in their 70s try to figure out how to pay for memory care that costs $12,000 a month with a retirement account that was never built to carry that weight. I watch adult children liquidate their own savings, their own retirement account to keep their parents in a safe place every single time out of love. But here is what I want you to hear. Love does not have to mean financial ruin. Not if you plan, not if you ask the questions now, instead of when the crisis arrives. And then there is a fraud piece. Financial fraud against seniors costs $3 billion every year because people who are isolated and cognitive vulnerable becomes target. The scammers know this. They count on the fact that nobody told you to watch out for it. Brain health, financial health are the separate conversations. They never were. And now this show, we have that conversation every single week.
Here's a stat that will stop you. 1 in 4 adults over age 65 are dangerously isolated. Not sad, not just lonely, dangerously isolated. That is a CDC finding. And according to researcher Julian Hull Lunston at Brigham University, loneliness is as deadly as smoking 15 cigarettes. So what do we do about it? I want to be specific because vague promises are everywhere and it costs people their time, the one thing that they can't get back. Every single week, we bring a real conversation with a real expert or a real person who has something to say worth hearing. We translate complicated research into plain English that you can act on. And you can act on it today, not someday, but today. We give you framework from the financial decisions most people avoid until it's too late. And we build community because you can't fight isolation by listening to a podcast alone. We are building events, a newsletter, resources that go everywhere this audience goes. And we're building something even bigger. April 12th, we're launching the Wealthy Brain Campaign, a national initiative combining credible media, real community, and corporate partnership. We're doing it to protect the wealth, the health, and human connection of every American over 50. We're starting right here in Connecticut. We're going national. Then we are going everywhere. This is not a product. It's not a course. This is a movement. And here's the thing about movements. They don't begin with me as a people. They begin with the right people, paying attention at exactly the right time. You're watching episode number 1. This is not an accident. You are the right people. And this, right now, is the right time. We need you, not as a spectator, as a founding member.
I want to answer the question I get asked the most, and that's why now? Here is the honest answer. 10,000 Americans turn 65 every single day. Every single day. The wave of people entering this chapter is the largest in this country, has ever seen. And the resources, the conversations, the community built to support them have not kept up. The gap is why we exist. And that gap is closing, starting today, starting with you.
Before we close, I made a promise at the top of this episode, and I want to keep it. I asked you at the very beginning, what is the thing you protect the least that matters the most? For me, the answer has always been the same. It's the people who shaped you, the people who poured into you before you even had the words to say thank you. I want to take a few minutes and honor the women who built this mission with me, because everything we're building here was built on the shoulders of women. Think about the women who changed the world and never got enough credit for it. Rosalind Franklin, her X-ray crystallography was the hidden key to discovering the structure of DNA. She never received the Nobel Prize. The men who used her work did. But her science lives in every laboratory on Earth, every breakthrough in genetics, every cancer treatment, every human genome ever sequenced. Rosalind Franklin is in all of it. Katherine Johnson, the NASA mathematician who calculated the trajectories that put men on the moon. She did it in her head with a pencil in a segregated building where she had to fight for the right to be in the room at all. And then she went home and did it again the next day. Dr. Virginia Apgar, who created a simple 10-point test that has saved millions of newborn lives. She built it because she noticed that babies were slipping away in the first minutes of life because nobody had a system to catch them. So she built one in a world that told her that wasn't her job. Maya Angelou, who turned suffering into literature and literature into medicine. Dorothy Height, who spent 60 years fighting for dignity and never stopped smiling while she did it. Harriet Tubman, who risked her life 19 times to go back and bring others to freedom. When asked if she was ever afraid, she said she never ran her train off the track and she never lost a passenger. Ruth Bader Ginsburg, who dissented when she had to and built when she could and wore her collar like armor. Women who refused to age quietly. Women who built things that lasted. That is the spirit of this movement. And then there are the women who've already shown up on this podcast and given this audience something real. Jill Kavalich, the founder of Solo Agers Connect, who looked at an entire population of people navigating one of life's hardest chapters alone. Instead of feeling sorry for them, she built them a home. Jill, you prove every week that solo doesn't mean lonely. Thank you. Shanae Fulton, who walked into this conversation and made every person listening feel like they were heard. There is a gift in that. Not everyone has it. Shanae has it. Thank you. Jessica Gripko, who brought clarity to the topics that most people are too afraid to even bring up at the dinner table. The conversations that need to happen but don't, until someone like Jessica makes them safe. Thank you. Erica DeFrancesco, who reminded us that reinvention is not a crisis, it's a choice. And the second act is often better than the first. Betsy Mintz, who proved that wisdom earned over lifetime more than any other credential on the wall. Betsy showed us how to thrive in the midst of battling one of the most difficult times. Arlene Tessman, who brought grace and fire in equal measure, who taught us about magnetic mind. These women didn't just share information, they shared themselves. And this audience is better for it. But I need to get personal for a moment. I want to give special tribute to the women in my life. I want to start with the woman who gave me birth. She taught me something that I really didn't fully understand until I was older. She taught me that love is not a feeling, it's a decision you make every single morning. No matter how tired you are, no matter how hard the day before was, you get up, you show up, because the people you love deserve your best, even on the hardest days. I carry that with me every time I sit in this chair. My sisters who told me the truth when I needed it and when I didn't want to hear it, who showed me what strength looks like without armor, who I have never had to once guess where I stood with my sisters. That is a rare gift, and I don't take it for granted. My daughters, every episode I record, every conversation we have on the show about aging with purpose, I'm thinking about what I am leaving behind for them. I want them to see a father who didn't shrink from the big years. I want them to see what it looks like to go all in. I want them to know without a shadow of a doubt that the best years of my life were not behind me. They were in front of me, and I ran toward them. And then there's Bridget. She is the critical mind behind the message, the calm in the middle of the chaos, the co-host who will not let me get away with anything and is always right. This show exists because of her. Bridget, thank you. Not just for the show, for everything, for being a mom to our kids, for being a grandmom to our granddaughters, for being the yin to my yang or the yang to my yin, however that goes. But for being the best part of me and compelling me to do what's right every single chance, at every single turn, at every single moment. For being an inspiration that helps me to get up every day and face every challenge, every difficulty that this world throws at me. For being a mark of beauty, elegance, and most of all, strength. You give me the power, you give me the strength, you give me the fortitude to face and overcome every adversity. And thank you for the most point of at the most difficult times, reminding me and pointing me towards God, from whom all our strength comes. I want to thank you all for being a part of this episode. I want to thank you all for allowing us to introduce you to what is yet to come, and the best is on its way. Our Wealthy Brain campaign. We're going to change this corner of the country, for starters. We're going to change this whole country, and then the world. If you like this information, if you got anything from this episode, I want you to take some time, like the video, subscribe, sign up for our newsletter. It's going to be coming out bi-weekly. The Wealthy Brain Campaign. We'll see you on the next episode. Bye for now.